Thank you for joining me. I did want to do a live and then also have this for viewing for later on the IGTV on the Grounded Evolution OT page. And I wanted to just talk a little bit more about biofeedback. So I've created some biofeedback posts, and there's also a highlight that goes over HeartMath, the biofeedback tool that I use, as well as just biofeedback in general. There are other types of biofeedback tools. So when I worked for Mayo Clinic, the biofeedback that the occupational therapists used in their outpatient department was they had a sensor that could go around your, having a hard time thinking of what this word is, kind of like around your waist, around your chest, and it would be tracking your breathing rate and how fast your respiration rate was. There's also ones where one might put sensors kind of on your back muscles here, kind of that trapezius, and it's going to know like how much tension and stress you're holding there and like trying to calm that down. So know that the purpose of biofeedback is to give us real-time information about how is my body reacting or responding to something, usually like some type of stressor, and then working with us to give us that visual feedback of how we're doing and how we can help calm our nervous system down. And it's really like pairing what that feels like in our body with us getting to see how we're responding. So it can be really helpful because I know that oftentimes how we are experiencing our body and our body's sensations can feel really subjective. Just like, I'm not exactly sure how intense or not intense this is. For some people, you've maybe never done something like this. How often have you guys been to the doctor and they ask you, like, let's say you are having some shoulder pain, and they ask you, like, rate that pain for me on a scale of 0 to 10, with 10 being the most pain you ever felt. And those subjective scales can be kind of hard to quantify when you're like, I don't know, like it really hurts, maybe a 4, maybe a 5, I'm not really sure. Or you've maybe been to the doctor or somewhere where, again, they just ask you, hey, how are you doing with managing your stress? Like, how's that going? And again, it's kind of hard to quantify or say, like, I don't know, I'm really stressed out, but maybe for someone, this is just how it always is. So what I like about using a biofeedback tool in like my emotional well-being practice and working with people on stress management is that it gives us more objective feedback to say, okay, here's how I'm doing, and then what tools can I try that might help me calm or regulate my nervous system. At the end of the day, the goal is to get you to be more effective at home, at work. Oftentimes when we decide to meditate or kind of shift our stress or try to decrease our stress, it helps us with mental clarity. It helps us be more productive and efficient at work. But also, maybe you're someone who you're feeling like you're at the top of your game, but you're starting to feel burnt out. You're starting to feel like you're not even enjoying this beautiful life that you've created. So meditation practices or using biofeedback, and specifically just HeartMath and how I utilize that, can honestly help someone like actually start to feel joy and happy and accomplished and allow yourself to feel those moments versus feeling like you have to just chase after that next thing and constantly be in this stress mode. So that's a little bit how I use it in my practice. It's oftentimes that someone's feeling like they're not feeling joy. They're not feeling at peace ever. They're not feeling like, gratitude or a sense of accomplishment. We can talk about these things and we can tell ourselves like, hey, we just got to write down, what are you grateful for? Or we got to write down, what am I so proud of? Or, I just got to write down or think about, I love my kids, or whatever that is. And that's great. We do need to do the mind work on that, but we also need to remember how it feels like in our body to feel happy, to feel at peace. And so for me personally, that's where I found that biofeedback was a really effective tool, because I kind of just needed to know how am I currently doing now, and like what do I want What do I want? What do I want to feel like? And what does happy and calm feel like in my body? And so biofeedback gave me that, and it can give it you too. So today, just for folks who maybe are just wondering what's this biofeedback thing she talks about, know that the HeartMath biofeedback system that I use, I do have a HeartMath biofeedback certification for professionals that I took last April, ironically right before the pandemic. And so it's the one that I'm certified in and that I use in practice, and I love the simplicity of it. So you're going to take that ear sensor and put it on your earlobe. Okay. There's a little second clip here that I can clip to my shirt just so that there's not a ton of movement. And then for me as a professional, I just have the software downloaded on my laptop. So I'm going to click into that now. So there's just like a home screen. And I'm going to click track a new one. So the beauty of it is that there can be different users in here, different people, different clients. I have one just for myself. And I hit start. So oftentimes if you're coming into a biofeedback session, depending on where you're at, but if you're coming into Grounded Evolution here in Rochester, Minnesota, I often will obtain some measurements under different conditions. What HeartMath is picking up is heart rate variability. It is picking up that heart pattern. Like, what pattern is your heart doing the flub-bub, 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 okay? So it's picking up that pattern, and I know it's going to be a little tricky to see on here. I apologize. I'll be putting some kind of just pictures in my stories or on a post as well for your reference. But you'll notice right here, it's picking up my current heart pattern. One thing you probably can't see, maybe, is this thing that HeartMath does is I'm going to set this down for a second and hit stop on the reading. So HeartMath is a system that's intended to be used with clients to provide useful information. So it not only shows us the heart pattern, which is one way to kind of determine how much stress you are, but then they've created a formula and a way to then calculate that into 3 different buckets, depending on how activated your sympathetic nervous system, that fight, flight, stress system, how like on it is per se, and how that one's kind of like an overdrive or activated. And so it breaks it up into 3 different colors based on the reading and based on that person's heart pattern. Now, when my system is more in that fight, flight, stress mode, it's going to say that I was spending time in that red bucket. Okay, blue is where my system's trying to shift. I'm getting more over into that neutral, renewing emotion stage. And then green is really what we're aiming for, green or blue. And when it analyzes my heart pattern and puts it into one of those buckets, it just tells me in that moment, during those, whether it was 1 minute, 2 minutes, 4 minutes, however long I was tracking that person or myself, how much time was I spending in that kind of stress response, how much time was I in that neutral, and how much time was I in green, which is heart coherence. In a nutshell, heart coherence, and you can go back and look at previous posts of mine, but heart coherence is when my heart is working in its most efficient manner. It's when my parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous systems are in balance and they're working together, and that stress response isn't trying to override or highly dialed up and activated. So heart coherence is what we're trying to achieve, and that's green. Of course, here when I just recorded myself in real time and what's my current heart pattern, I was 78% of the time in red. Okay, so for that minute that I just tracked myself live, 78% of the time I was in kind of that red stress state. 22% of the time I was in blue, which just means that my system was trying to shift. I have a feeling that's because I'm live on camera. I'm kind of like maybe feeling a little anxious, stressed about doing this live, and at the same time I was also trying to like balance my laptop without hopefully knocking down the phone. Like there's different conditions that I can say for myself why I was probably 78% stressed there. The other thing is that I kind of get excited about teaching and educating, and so oftentimes when I'm talking and I'm spending brain power educating or doing something like this, it can sometimes kind of ramp up my stress system. So that doesn't surprise me that I was more in that state. Now, I do want to show you one, because I think this is what I do in sessions. I show people, here's where you're at, and then we do that under different conditions. So we might monitor someone's heart pattern during 2 minutes of silence. I might monitor your pattern while you're telling me what are your biggest stressors going on in life right now. And then at some point within the coaching session, after doing some other kind of like where do you want to be, what are your goals, etc., we're going to go into a meditation. What I like about the HeartMath biofeedback system is that there are different ways that we can meditate in the program, and the program has some different ways to help people with that, if that makes sense. So I'm actually going to show you today using this Coherence coach. Some of you might like this style, some maybe not, but I want to try to show you how we can shift our heart coherence. We can shift at a physiological level how our body is responding to stress. And so I'm going to hit play, but the difference is that while it's tracking my heart pattern this next time, it's also going to be for the person who's doing it, myself right now, or you, the client, if you're with me, is that it's actually giving me a, let's see here, I'm not sure if you guys will be able to see it, maybe you can see that green little dot, and it's helping me kind of pace my breathing. So as it goes up and down, up and down. Maybe you guys can join me. So we might use something like that in a session with a client. Sometimes I don't use that right off the bat. It really, I kind of have a knack for sort of reading what that person might need in the moment. And so it's not that I always might pull that one up. Maybe I do a song, maybe we do some light meditative music. So that can be produced in different ways. But what I wanted to show you all was that's one way that you could kind of tap into a breath-based meditation. And if you're visual, you may be like following kind of that up and down moving little circle guy. And then what I want to show you is how that produced quite a shift even with me, even while I'm on live. So before, you noticed how 50+% of the time I was in red and I had no green when I first did my reading, and how when I did that breathing meditation, notice how my heart pattern became more synchronized and rhythmical, and how I actually decreased how much time I was spending in red down to 11%, and then I had spent 56% of the time in that blue neutral state where my system was trying to shift, and then 33% in that heart coherence state, which I'm trying to achieve. So just within a few minutes there, I was able to make a change. And to be honest, for someone who is trying to build in a meditative practice, for someone who's trying to be more cognizant of your emotional health and your emotional well-being, because you can see how it impacts so many things. How we're managing stress, overwhelm, how often we're experiencing feelings like gratitude, peace, or joy. It matters. It's not just kind of like a pie in the sky idea, but when we're experiencing more renewing positive emotions, it's making a difference at a physiological level on how our nervous system and how our heart, how well it's doing its job. And so I found that using the HeartMath biofeedback tool was really helpful in kind of convincing me why I need to make meditation or some type of grounding practice just as part of my daily or weekly routine, just similar how some people know like exercise is good for your body. And the thing is with exercise, I think it's a little bit easier to sometimes motivate ourselves because we can see the change. I mean, when I consistently go out for a run, I notice that my runs start to get easier and I can start running for longer. When I start to lift weights in the gym consistently, I notice like my bicep muscles actually getting and looking more strong and toned. And maybe I notice I'm moving up in weights. I could usually just do 10 pounds. Now I'm moving up to 15 pounds. Exercise has more concrete, objective ways to look at that. Whereas sometimes our emotional health, we don't have a good read on how am I doing right now and am I getting better? And so the biofeedback can really bring that objectiveness to our emotional health practice. So maybe you just need a session or two just to see how am I doing and what are some recommendations? Where can I go from that? And maybe you're someone who honestly needs that ongoing visual feedback. So we can talk about how maybe after you do your initial Kickstarter session with me, we do a couple of those follow-up visits just to solidify your practice and make sure it's working and effective for your lifestyle. And then after that, maybe you just need some drop-in sessions like, hey, I'm feeling really razzed today. I had a hard day at work. And you just book a 15-minute meditation with the biofeedback so you can just give yourself that information in real time, how you're regulating your nervous system. And also the other cool thing is HeartMath does have like a home use meditation biofeedback tracker. It's called Inner Balance. I don't have it on me right now, but it's just a little one that actually Bluetooths to your phone, to your smartphone, and then it has the ear sensor, but it's like smaller, and it's something that you could just use with your at home too. And you use like the HeartMath Inner Balance app, and you can get that information right to your fingertips. So I hope that this video about biofeedback was helpful for you today. I look forward to working with you in the future. Know that biofeedback can be that missing piece that you've been needing just to kind of kickstart your emotional evolution. If you have any questions, drop them below or send me a message. Thanks for watching.